What separates the extraordinary achievers from those who remain trapped in cycles of mediocrity? It's not superior intelligence, exceptional talent, or even favorable circumstances. The defining difference lies in a profound psychological principle that most people never discover: the ability to authentically embody their future successful self, long before external evidence supports this transformation. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization exercises. This is about fundamental identity reconstruction at the deepest level of your being. When you master this principle, you'll discover that success isn't something you chase or struggle toward. It becomes something you naturally express because of who you've become. Consider this startling reality. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take is either moving you toward your highest potential or reinforcing your current limitations. There is no neutral ground. Your nervous system is constantly being programmed by these moment-to-moment choices, creating neural pathways that either support extraordinary achievement or maintain familiar patterns of struggle. The tragedy is that most people spend their entire lives reinforcing the very limitations they desperately want to escape. They think thoughts of scarcity while hoping for abundance. They speak words of uncertainty while desiring confidence. They take actions from fear while seeking courage. This internal contradiction creates an energetic discord that makes genuine transformation virtually impossible. But when you learn to align your internal state with your desired outcomes, when you think, speak, and act as if your success is already inevitable, something miraculous occurs. Your entire energetic signature shifts. You begin operating from a completely different frequency, one that naturally attracts the people, opportunities, and resources necessary to manifest your vision. Your brain is far more malleable than you've been led to believe. Neuroscience has revealed that your neural pathways can be completely rewired through consistent practice, regardless of your age or past conditioning. Every time you think a thought or perform an action, you're literally sculpting your brains. Architecture. This phenomenon, called neuroplasticity, means that the person you were yesterday doesn't have to be the person you are today. The limitations you've accepted as permanent are actually just well-worn neural patterns that can be replaced with pathways supporting unlimited achievement. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research demonstrates that when individuals consistently visualize and emotionally experience their desired future, their brain chemistry changes to match this new reality. The neurons that wire together during these mental rehearsals create the same neural networks that would form through actual experience. Your brain literally cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This scientific understanding transforms everything. It means that your current circumstances, no matter how challenging, are simply the result of past mental programming. And since that programming created your current reality, new programming can create an entirely different reality. The key lies in understanding that transformation must occur at the identity level, not just the behavioral level. When you attempt to change your actions without changing your self-concept, you create internal resistance that eventually pulls you back to familiar patterns. But when you first transform your identity, when you genuinely see yourself as the person who naturally achieves your desired outcomes, the corresponding behaviors emerge naturally. Your body is constantly communicating with your subconscious mind through posture, breathing patterns, and micro-expressions. When you carry yourself as someone who has already achieved their goals, you're sending powerful signals to your nervous system that this new identity is real. Research in embodied cognition shows that physical postures directly influence mental states. When subjects adopted confident postures for just 2 minutes, their cortisol levels decreased while testosterone increased, creating the hormonal profile associated with leadership and success. More remarkably, these physiological changes persisted for hours after the posture exercise ended. This means that how you hold your body, throughout the day is literally programming your biochemistry for either success or failure. When you slouch, avoid eye contact, or move tentatively, you're conditioning your nervous system for limitation. When you stand tall, make direct eye contact, and move with purpose, you're programming yourself for achievement. The most successful individuals intuitively understand this principle. They carry themselves with quiet confidence, even when facing significant challenges. Their posture broadcasts certainty about their eventual success, which influences not only their own state, but also how others perceive and respond to them. Begin immediately implementing what I call physiological alignment. Throughout each day, consciously adopt the posture, breathing patterns, and movement quality of someone who has already achieved your goals. This isn't about arrogance or pretense. It's about authentically expressing the person you're becoming. Walk as if you're already where you want to be. Breathe as if you've already overcome the challenges you currently face. Gesture as if you're already commanding the respect you desire. Your body will begin communicating with your subconscious mind in a completely different language, one that supports rather than undermines your aspirations. Words are not merely communication tools. They are creative forces that literally shape your reality. Every word you speak is a command to your subconscious mind, instructing it in how to interpret and respond to your environment. When you master the art of success-oriented language, you gain access to one of the most powerful transformation tools available to human consciousness. Consider the profound difference between these statements. I'm trying to build a successful business versus I am building a successful business. The first statement programs uncertainty and struggle into your nervous system. The second creates neural pathways associated with certainty and capability. Isn't semantic manipulation, it's neurological programming. Your brain responds to language by creating corresponding thought patterns, emotional states, and behavioral tendencies. When you consistently use the language of achievement, you literally rewire your neural networks to support success rather than struggle. Winston Churchill demonstrated this principle during Britain's darkest hour in World War II. When the nation faced seemingly inevitable defeat, Churchill didn't use tentative language of hope or possibility. He spoke with absolute certainty about Britain's eventual victory, programming not only his own mind, but the collective consciousness of an entire nation. His famous declaration, "We shall never surrender," wasn't based on military superiority. At that moment, Britain was significantly outgunned and outmanned. It was based on his understanding that language creates reality. Through the power of decisive words, he transformed a narrative of likely defeat into one of inevitable triumph. You must become equally vigilant about your language patterns. Eliminate phrases that reinforce limitation or uncertainty. Replace "I hope," "I'll try," and "maybe" with declarations of absolute certainty. "I will," "I am," and "I know." Pay particular attention to the questions you habitually ask yourself. Questions are perhaps the most powerful form of language because they instantly direct your mental focus. Instead of asking, "Why is this so hard?" ask, "How can I make this easier?" Instead of, "What if I fail?" ask, "How specifically will I succeed?" Remember that your subconscious mind is always listening to your internal dialogue. Make sure the conversation supports your highest aspirations rather than reinforcing your current limitations. Your environment is constantly shaping your identity through thousands of subtle influences each day. The people you associate with, the physical spaces you occupy, the information you consume, all of these elements either support your transformation or sabotage it through continuous contradiction. Most people dramatically underestimate environmental influence on their psychology. They assume willpower alone can overcome negative environmental programming, but this approach creates exhausting internal battles that eventually lead to defeat. the more effective strategy is to deliberately engineer an environment that naturally supports your desired identity transformation. Steve Jobs understood this principle profoundly. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company was nearly bankrupt and demoralized. Rather than simply developing new products, Jobs first transformed Apple's entire environmental culture. He redesigned office spaces to encourage innovation, eliminated bureaucratic policies that stifled creativity, and surrounded himself with individuals who shared his vision of revolutionary technology. These environmental changes weren't superficial. They were strategic identity programming. By creating spaces and relationships that embodied excellence, Jobs made it virtually impossible for mediocre thinking to persist within Apple's ecosystem. The environment itself became a constant reinforcement of the company's new identity as an innovator. You must apply this same intentionality to your personal environment. Begin with your physical spaces. Organize your home and workspace as if you're already operating at your desired level of achievement. This doesn't require expensive renovations. It requires strategic curation. Eliminate clutter that suggests disorganization or lack of focus. Display symbols and reminders of your aspirations prominently. Arrange your tools and resources with the care and precision that characterizes someone already successful in your field. Your information environment requires equal attention. The books you read, podcasts you listen to, and conversations you engage in are continuously programming your subconscious mind. Consume content that your future successful self would prioritize. Engage with ideas that challenge and expand your current thinking patterns. Most critically, evaluate your social environment. The 5 people you spend the most time with create an unconscious standard that your mind naturally gravitates toward. If these individuals consistently doubt your vision or reinforce limiting beliefs about what's possible, you must either influence them toward more empowering perspectives or supplement your social circle with relationships that support your transformation. This environmental architecture becomes a continuous reinforcement system for your new identity. Every element of your surroundings either validates your emerging self-concept or contradicts it. When you align your environment with your aspirations, you eliminate the energetic discord that prevents authentic transformation. Traditional achievement models suggest that success leads to confidence. Confidence leads to better actions, and better actions create superior results. This linear progression seems logical, but it represents a fundamental misunderstanding of how transformation actually occurs. The most effective achievers reverse this formula entirely. They begin by cultivating the internal state associated with already having achieved their desired outcomes. This internal transformation naturally produces the thoughts, decisions, and actions that create external success. Consider how Oprah Winfrey approached her media empire. Long before she became the queen of media, she carried herself with the dignity and authority of someone already commanding global influence. She didn't wait for external validation to adopt the mindset of a media mogul. She embodied this identity first, and her reality gradually organized itself to match this internal vision. This reverse engineering approach works because your subconscious mind cannot maintain contradictory beliefs about your identity indefinitely. When you consistently think, speak, and act as someone who has already achieved your goals, cognitive dissonance emerges. Your mind experiences psychological discomfort from the contradiction between your new behaviors and your old self-concept. To resolve this tension, your subconscious begins seeking evidence and opportunities that support your new identity. It literally starts working to make your external reality consistent with your internal transformation. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle where aligned actions strengthen your new identity, which generates even more powerful actions. The key lies in making this identity shift authentic rather than performative. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're choosing to become who you truly are beneath the accumulated limitations of your conditioning. Begin by clearly defining the person you're becoming. What are their daily habits? How do they make decisions? What standards do they maintain? How do they respond to challenges? Once you have this clear profile, start embodying these characteristics immediately. Don't wait for external circumstances to validate your new identity. A validation comes after the transformation, not before it. When you reverse engineer success by beginning with the end in mind, you collapse the time between your current reality and your desired future. Everything in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, including human consciousness. Your dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs create a unique energetic signature that attracts experiences matching that frequency. This isn't mystical thinking. It's the practical application of quantum principles to personal transformation. When you operate from scarcity consciousness, you literally broadcast a frequency of limitation that repels abundance. When you embody success consciousness, you emit an energetic signature that naturally attracts successful outcomes. People can sense this frequency, even when they can't consciously identify what they're detecting. Think about individuals you've encountered who immediately commanded respect and attention simply through their presence. They weren't necessarily the most physically attractive or intellectually brilliant people in the room, but something about their energy was magnetic. They were operating from a frequency of certainty and capability that others intuitively recognized and responded to. This energetic resonance explains why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle despite tremendous effort. It's not about fairness or luck. It's about frequency alignment. When your internal frequency matches your desired outcomes, you naturally magnetize the people and circumstances necessary to manifest those outcomes. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, demonstrated this principle perfectly. When she first conceived her idea for footless pantyhose, she had no fashion industry experience, no business connections, and minimal financial resources. What she did have was unwavering certainty about her product's value and her capacity to succeed. This certainty created an energetic field that attracted exactly what she needed: a manufacturer willing to work with an unknown entrepreneur, retailers willing to stock an untested product, and customers eager to purchase her solution. Her success wasn't due to superior resources, but superior resonance. You can deliberately calibrate your energetic frequency by consistently aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your desired outcomes. When doubt or fear arises, recognize these as frequency disruptions that must be immediately corrected through conscious redirection. Practice what I call frequency maintenance throughout each day. Regularly check your internal state and ask, is my current frequency aligned with my aspirations or my limitations? When you detect misalignment, immediately shift your focus to thoughts and feelings consistent with already having achieved your goals. This energetic alignment becomes increasingly natural through consistent practice. Eventually, operating from success frequency becomes your default mode, making extraordinary achievements feel effortless and inevitable. Most people focus on dramatic life changes while overlooking the cumulative power of seemingly insignificant daily choices. Your life isn't primarily shaped by major decisions, but by thousands of micro decisions that compound over time to create your destiny. Every micro decision either reinforces your current identity or supports your emerging identity. When you choose to hit the snooze button rather than rising early, you're voting for your current self rather than your future self. When you choose to complain about a challenge rather than seeking solutions, you're programming limitation rather than capability. These individual choices seem inconsequential, but their cumulative effect is profound. Like compound interest in finance, consistent micro decisions aligned with your aspirations create exponential, rather than linear progress toward your goals. Jeff Bezos built Amazon through millions of micro-decisions aligned with his vision of customer obsession. Each choice to prioritize long-term customer satisfaction over short-term profits seemed insignificant individually, but collectively they created the most customer-centric company in history. You must become equally intentional about your micro-decisions. Throughout each day, pause before making choices and ask, does this decision serve my current self or my future self? This simple question instantly clarifies which option supports your transformation. Begin implementing what I call identity-based micro-decisions. When deciding what to eat, choose foods that your healthy future self would consume. When allocating time, prioritize activities that your successful future self would consider essential. When responding to setbacks, react as your resilient future self would respond. These micro-decisions require minimal effort individually, but create massive momentum collectively. Each aligned choice strengthens the neural pathways supporting your new identity, while weakening patterns associated with your old limitations. Track your micro-decisions for 1 week. Note how many choices throughout each day either support or undermine your aspirations. You'll likely discover that transformation isn't blocked by major obstacles, but by accumulated micro-contradictions that maintain your current reality. Once you see this pattern clearly, you can begin making micro-adjustments that gradually but inevitably shift your life trajectory toward extraordinary achievement. The mastery of emotional intelligence. Your emotional state determines the quality of your decisions, and your decisions determine the quality of your life. When you master emotional intelligence, the ability to consciously direct your emotional experience, you gain control over the primary force shaping your reality. Most people experience emotions as involuntary reactions to external circumstances. They feel successful when things go well and discouraged when facing challenges. This emotional reactivity creates inconsistent performance and makes sustained progress nearly impossible. Elite achievers understand that emotions are not reactions, but choices. They've learned to generate the emotional states that support peak performance regardless of external circumstances. They feel confident before achieving confidence building victories. They experience gratitude before receiving things to be grateful for. This emotional mastery isn't about suppressing negative emotions. It's about consciously cultivating emotions that align with your desired outcomes. When you can generate feelings of success, confidence, and capability on demand, you naturally think and act in ways that create successful results. The key lies in understanding that emotions are created by the meanings you assign to events, not by the events themselves. Two people can experience identical circumstances, yet have completely different emotional responses based on the interpretations they choose. When facing a setback, you can interpret it as evidence of your inadequacy, creating discouragement, or as valuable feedback guiding your improvement, creating determination. The external facts remain the same, but your chosen interpretation determines your emotional experience, which determines your subsequent actions and results. Practice what I call emotional sovereignty by taking complete responsibility for your emotional state regardless of external circumstances. When you notice disempowering emotions arising, immediately ask, what interpretation am I choosing that creates this feeling, and what alternative interpretation would serve me better? This practice transforms you from an emotional victim of circumstances into the conscious architect of your inner experience. When you master your emotional state, you master your life, because everything flows from the emotional frequency you consistently maintain. The strategic use of future memory. Your brain stores memories of past experiences and uses this information to predict and respond to future situations. But through visualization and mental rehearsal, you can create future memories, vivid mental experiences of achieving your goals that your nervous system treats as real events. These future memories become psychological resources you can draw upon when facing challenges. Instead of relying solely on past experiences that may reinforce limitation, you access memories of success that support confidence and capability. Olympic athletes have used this technique for decades, mentally rehearsing perfect performances thousands of times before competition. By the time they compete, their nervous system has already experienced success repeatedly, making actual success feel familiar and achievable rather than foreign and intimidating. You can apply this same principle to any area of transformation. Create detailed mental movies of yourself successfully achieving your goals. Engage all your senses, see the visual details, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, and even imagine relevant smells and tastes. The key is making these visualizations emotionally compelling rather than merely intellectual. Your subconscious mind responds to emotion far more powerfully than to logic. When you can generate genuine excitement about your visualized success, you're programming your nervous system for achievement. Practice this technique daily, spending at least 10 minutes creating and experiencing these future memories. Over time, your brain will develop such strong neural pathways associated with success that achieving your goals will feel like remembering rather than learning. In our instant gratification culture, most people abandon their transformative goals when results don't manifest immediately. They mistake delayed results for denied results, not understanding that meaningful change often requires an incubation period before becoming visible. Strategic patience isn't passive waiting. It's active persistence combined with unshakable faith in eventual success. It's the ability to maintain consistent effort even when external evidence doesn't yet support your vision. Consider bamboo growth patterns. After planting, bamboo shows no visible growth for years while developing an extensive root system underground. Then, seemingly overnight, it shoots up to full height in a matter of weeks. The dramatic growth wasn't created in those final weeks, but during the invisible years of root development. Your transformation follows similar patterns. The internal changes you're creating through consistent practice may not immediately manifest as external results, but they're building the foundation for eventual breakthrough. The key is maintaining faith and effort during this invisible development phase. Strategic patience requires shifting your focus from external results to internal progress. Celebrate evidence of identity transformation, improved emotional resilience, enhanced decision-making, stronger self-discipline, and greater clarity about direction. These internal victories predict eventual external success. Remember that everything meaningful requires gestation time. Babies develop for 9 months before birth. Buildings require extensive foundation work before rising skyward. Your transformation deserves the same patience and persistence. Don't confuse strategic patience with passive hoping. Continue taking aligned action while trusting in perfect timing. This combination of effort and faith creates the optimal conditions for breakthrough when the moment is right. Reading about transformation principles creates intellectual understanding, but meaningful change requires systematic integration into your daily life. This final section provides a specific protocol for implementing everything you've learned. Begin each day with a 10-minute identity alignment session. Visualize yourself as already having achieved your primary goal. Feel the emotions this achievement would generate. From this state, set intentions for how you'll think, speak, and act throughout the day. Throughout each day, practice micro-alignments, brief moments where you pause and ask, am I currently embodying my future self or my past self? Make immediate adjustments when you detect misalignment. End each day with a progress celebration session. Document 3 specific ways you embodied your future identity that day, regardless of how small these actions might seem. This practice reinforces positive changes, and builds momentum for continued transformation. Weekly, conduct a comprehensive review of your progress. Identify areas where you're successfully embodying your new identity and areas requiring greater attention. Adjust your strategies based on what's working most effectively. Monthly, update your vision of your future self as you gain clarity about your aspirations. This ensures your transformation remains aligned with your evolving understanding of your potential. Remember that transformation is not a destination but a journey. Each day offers new opportunities to choose your future self over your past conditioning. The cumulative effect of these daily choices will eventually create the extraordinary life you envision.